He just accidentally twisted his ankle while walking, and a soldier mercilessly shot him in the head. None of his companions dared to stop and check, because this was a death march competition. All participants not only had to walk while eating, but they weren't even allowed to stop to use the bathroom. If a participant couldn't maintain a speed of 3 miles per hour, the soldiers acting as referees would shoot them on the spot. The competition had no finish line. It wouldn't end until only one person remained. As a prize for the contest, the winner not only gets a big cash reward, but can even have the organizers grant a wish. This was a turbulent time, hit by civil war and economic standstill, even though it looked calm on the surface. In reality, the government was already under the control of a totalitarian military regime. Resources were scarce, the economy was in decline, and people were struggling to get enough to eat. To boost people's morale and solidify their grip on power, the ruling class, led by a major, decided to hold a deadly walking contest. Every year, the major would invite 50 young people to take part in the competition. Once the competition began, it became the hottest event in America. Many people eagerly signed up, but things weren't as simple as they imagined. Even though the punishment was death, many still wanted to win that huge prize. One day, Ray suddenly received an invitation from the government. To ensure he could compete, he deliberately hid it from his mother, and only told her after the withdrawal deadline passed. Since the economic stagnation, life at home had become increasingly tight. After his father passed away, mother and son could barely maintain even the most basic living needs. That's why Ray planned to change his fate through the competition. He believed that if he could win this competition, he could give his mother a normal life again. When his mother learned all this, she almost broke down and couldn't speak, but no amount of tears could change the rules. This death competition had no way out. Missing it meant being executed on the spot. After making sure he had everything for the competition, he said his final goodbye to his mother and headed to the gathering point alone. At the gathering point, he met a friendly and enthusiastic boy named Peter. Although they didn't know each other, a few simple words were enough for them to become friends. During this time, participants from other states also arrived at the site one after another. While everyone was sitting together chatting, a major drove up in a jeep from afar. He would oversee this year's competition. Once all participants were confirmed present, the soldiers handed out a number tag and a watch to each person. The number tag was their ID, and the watch could measure speed and record mileage. The major briefly announced the rules of the competition. Everyone's speed couldn't fall below 3 miles per hour. If it did, they'd get a yellow warning card. Participants had to raise their speed within 10 seconds, or they'd receive a second yellow warning. They couldn't leave the road during the competition. Leaving would also earn a yellow warning. If someone accumulated 3 yellow warnings, it meant elimination. But the competition also had a reward system. If your speed met the requirement for an hour, 1 yellow warning could be removed. The entire competition would be live-streamed, with all food and water provided by the government. They couldn't rest or pause along the way. As for where the finish line was, even the major didn't know. All they had to do was keep walking forward. As the gunshot rang out, the competition officially began. At first, the atmosphere was relatively calm, and the participants were trying to adjust their pace to stay at their best. After a while, everyone started chatting about the competition. One of the participants even tried to lighten the mood. Since the entire competition was being live-streamed, there were probably hundreds of millions watching on TV at this moment. Ray followed the direction of his finger and discovered a camera hidden inside a cannon barrel. Realizing that every move they made was under the public's watch, the atmosphere on the track grew tense again. The race quickly reached the 5-mile mark. Everyone had trained beforehand and knew how to pace themselves, so things were calm. But just as everyone was wondering who would get the first yellow card warning, a beep sounded from the crowd. It was a man named Stebbins testing the race's speed limits, so he could adjust his own pace. Just as Peter had guessed, others in the group began to follow his lead one by one. With yellow card warnings going off one after another, the lineup started to change quickly. Those at the front began slowing their pace, but Ray and Peter didn't slow down or change their pace. They stayed at the front, walking and chatting. During the chat, Peter revealed the truth about the race. On the surface, the race was to stimulate the economy, but in reality, it was rich people's way to pass the time. Before the race even started, their numbers had already been bet on by the wealthy. The betting pool was said to be billions of times bigger than the prize money. Though the racers thought the rich were excessive, they didn't complain much. It was thanks to the wealthy's funding that the prize was so massive. Along the way, everyone talked and laughed, and didn't feel bored. Seeing the lively conversation up front, number 49 at the back joined in. The man's name was Ari, and he wasn't racing for the prize. He just wanted to turn the race into a book and publish it. But Ari's idea made everyone laugh. because the race's prize money was worth so many times more than publishing costs. Besides, if he lost his life, he wouldn't even get the chance to write the book. While everyone chatted about their dreams and pasts, harsh reality shattered the brief calm. A boy got 2 yellow card warnings in a row because of a leg cramp. Kind Ray couldn't watch and reached out to help. With his help, the boy quickly regained his rhythm. But no sooner had he let go than the boy collapsed from exhaustion. 3 yellow cards instantly added up, and the soldier mercilessly pulled the trigger. The person who had been chatting just moments ago was now a corpse, and the atmosphere froze instantly. Everyone worried they might be the next to be eliminated. Luckily, in the next 10 miles, no one else was eliminated, and the mood slowly lifted. Especially Peter, who saw people on the sidelines cheering and joked with everyone. But just as everyone was laughing, another accident happened. Number 1 at the front suddenly foamed at the mouth and collapsed. You can guess what happened next. The once lively atmosphere became tense again after the second elimination. Crossing a plain, the racers arrived at a dam. It happened to be afternoon, and the sun made the water sparkle brilliantly. The stunning view lightened the mood of the tense group again. Everyone thought no more accidents would happen. But at the front, Mark got into an argument with the racer beside him. Mark had just wanted to chat, but his approach was kind of bad. The two started arguing, and Mark even insulted the other guy. The man got angry and swung his fist at Mark. Unexpectedly, the man lost his balance, fell to the ground, couldn't get up quickly, and was eventually eliminated. Mark's actions quickly made the others realize what was happening. He was deliberately provoking the other to increase his chances of winning. Everyone started criticizing Mark, calling him a downright killer. Mark felt guilty too. He just wanted to chat, but it ended up killing the boy. Seeing Mark hitting someone, the others felt awkward and didn't say anything more. No one wanted to waste energy on this kind of situation. The race quickly reached the 35-mile mark. An older man suddenly started having stomach issues for some unknown reason. To avoid elimination, he had to keep walking while dealing with it, filling the group with a horrible smell. But his condition didn't improve. He even got abdominal cramps. The intense pain made it impossible for him to keep going. After receiving 3 yellow warnings, the man was also eliminated. As night fell, the participants had reached 35 miles. Out of the original 50, only 30 remained. After a full day, the participants were exhausted and sleepy. The pace slowed, and some even sat down on the ground. Soldiers urged them to speed up, and anyone who couldn't keep up was executed on the spot. The sound of gunfire jolted the exhausted group awake. After who knows how long, Ray finally saw the horizon and made it through the night. Now there were only about 20 people left in the group. Soon, they reached the edge of the city. Facing an invisible finish line, Ray felt like he couldn't hold on any longer. He started regretting not listening to his mother, but now it was too late. Peter noticed his distress and quickly offered comfort, which gradually calmed Ray's restless mind. He quickly adjusted his pace to make sure he didn't fall behind. The few of them comforted and encouraged each other as they walked another 10 miles. The participants reached the 67-mile mark, with only 18 left in the race. A day and night of marching had left everyone utterly exhausted. Even Baker, who loved talking, stayed quiet to conserve energy. But just as the participants were listless, a sharp beep beep broke the silence. Participant number 49 had broken his ankle and couldn't continue walking. He lay on the ground helplessly, unwillingly waiting for death. Another companion's death shocked Ray and Peter, but their faces showed no expression. Because in the past day, they had already seen too much death. But the real race was just beginning, as only the strong had made it this far. Sure enough, for a long time afterward, no one was eliminated. But at the 100-mile mark, a participant tried to escape into a residential area. But his actions were basically suicide. Seeing the man's tragic state, some began questioning who designed such an inhumane competition. Other participants agreed. They started cursing the soldiers and the government behind them, then talked about what they would do with the prize if they won. The previously tense atmosphere gradually became lively. The race quickly reached the 130-mile mark. Torrential rain started pouring from the sky. Ray and Peter took turns resting by supporting each other, just barely regaining some strength. Seeing that the referee didn't call it a violation, the other participants copied them. Another night passed, and now only 12 were left in the race. Halfway through, Baker suddenly pulled down his pants and squatted to relieve himself. He timed it perfectly, standing up exactly at 9 seconds each time. Then he squatted again before the next yellow card warning reset. Repeating this several times, Baker not only relieved himself but also got a few dozen seconds of rest. Another participant tried to imitate him, but once he squatted, he couldn't get back up. After walking about 5 more miles, the group's conversation turned back to their wishes if they won the race. Ray joined in, and his wish was to take down the major at the back. Due to years of civil war, the US had enacted many absurd laws. Ray's father had just complained a few times at home, and he was arrested by the major, who was the head of the law enforcement squad. The father and major had been good friends. If his father had backed down, it would have been just a few years in jail, but his stubborn father made inappropriate remarks in front of everyone, and paid with his life. And this act of merit made the major one of the race referees. Ray wanted to change the rules, but he couldn't do it alone. Now he just wanted revenge for his father, and that obsession kept him going until now. Time quickly reached the evening of the third day. A few people finally couldn't hold on. Some ran to the tanks to beg the soldiers for help, while others stripped naked and ran to the front. The constant gunfire made the near-breaking Ray shiver all over. The participants had already covered 201 miles. Although they kept going, they were all near their limits. Number 46, Hank, suddenly turned and walked straight toward the soldiers. Baker tried to save him, but both would have died. Luckily, Ray pulled him back in time. Baker knew his helplessness deeply and couldn't let it go for a long time. Eventually, they learned from Parker that Hank was already married, so they discussed that no matter who won, they should help Hank's wife. At that moment, Mark suddenly came close to Ray, wanting to join the discussion. He said he didn't want to die under everyone's judgment, then ran to the front of the line and ended his own life. Watching Mark suddenly commit suicide, the already tense atmosphere became even heavier. By now, they had walked 260 miles, and the 5 survivors reached the city. On the roadside, his mother's sudden appearance threw Ray off rhythm. Even knowing he might be eliminated, Ray wanted to run and hug his mother, but Peter stopped him, and his mother urged him to keep going. The mother didn't realize that this goodbye would be a final one. Pulled back, Ray realized his mistake, quickly readjusted, and regained his pace. The race quickly reached the 300-mile mark, and the outcome would soon be decided. Sure enough, Parker couldn't hold on anymore. He grabbed a soldier's gun and tried to take them out, but he was exhausted and had no strength left to resist. The other 4 didn't dare stop, gritting their teeth and moving forward. By the time the race reached 350 miles, Baker started having a nosebleed. Even though Ray and Peter urged him not to give up, Baker didn't want to hold them back. After asking Ray to take his necklace back to his family, he stopped walking. Now, only Ray and Peter remained, along with a boy named Stebbins. He was the major's illegitimate son, and he joined the race to gain his father's recognition and live with some dignity. 2 days of fever had left his cheeks flushed. Stebbins knew he had reached his limit. Even with spectators all around, he chose to quit the race. Hearing the gunfire behind him, Ray began to waver, while Peter still wanted him to push to the finish. But Ray knew that as long as there were 2 participants left on the road, the race would never truly end. Hearing Ray's words, Peter suddenly stopped. He had always thought that reaching the finish line meant victory. Peter broke down when he learned the truth. He had grown up in an orphanage without parents. The only reason he joined the race was to have a dignified way to die. So he decided to quit, letting his friend return home to be with his mother. But Ray couldn't bear to watch his friend die, and begged him to keep walking a little longer. However, just a few meters forward, gunshots suddenly rang out behind them. Though Ray wanted to go home to his mother, he could no longer endure this world. With no tomorrow and no future here, he chose to stop in his tracks. With Ray eliminated, Peter claimed the ultimate victory. Looking at the fireworks in the sky and his friend lying on the ground, Peter felt the world's cruel irony. As he wept, the major approached and asked if he had a wish to fulfill. After a moment of thought, Peter pointed at the rifle in the soldier's hands. He took the gun, aimed it at the major, and fulfilled Ray's wish. The film ends here. This movie portrays the most resilient human spirit in the cruelest way. If it were you, would you walk to the end, or like Ray, stop for friendship and dignity? Feel free to leave a comment below, and see you in the next episode.